I will call the Joint Government Oversight Health Human Services Committee of Tuesday, June 9th to order. First item is Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item is I need a motion to adopt the agenda.
Romano adopts the agenda.
I have a motion by Commissioner Romano, supported by Commissioner Howard. Any discussion on the agenda? Seeing none, please vote.
Motion passes 11-0.
Thank you. Next is approval of minutes dated May 12th, 2026. Motion to approve.
Motion to approve the minutes of May 12th.
Motion by Commissioner Goike, supported by Commissioner Lucido. Any discussion on the minutes? Seeing none, please vote.
Motion passes 11-0.
Thank you. Next is public participation. This is the first opportunity for the public to speak for a maximum of 3 minutes on any agenda item. There will be a second opportunity at the end of the meeting. Those wishing to speak on the resolution for the ballot language on the transportation millage or the resolution on the veterans millage, we will have a separate public hearing for both of those. Anyone from the public wish to speak? Once, twice, gone. Next is items related to Macomb County Public Transportation millage. It's a resolution 2026-15571. A resolution approving ballot language for a Macomb County Public Transportation millage to appear on November 3rd, 2026 ballot. JP, this is for discussion only, members. JP, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Commissioner. Appreciate the opportunity to address the commissioners today, and very much want to thank a number of our transportation advocates and allies who have joined us here today. I have the great opportunity to be here today to discuss a collaborative effort that has been taking shape over the past 18 months, in which the Macomb County Board of Commissioners, in leadership not only from Chairman Sabatini, Commissioner Haw, and a handful of other commissioners, have been not only leaders, advocates, and stewards of understanding how we are modernizing the county's approach to public transportation. It has been a refreshing conversation that has included chief elected officials and legislative bodies across the entire county, transit operators who serve individuals on their front doorsteps all the way to their places of business or where they need medical attention, and has given us an opportunity to modernize the way that we approach transit here in Macomb County. I want to give a tremendous amount of credit to Tiffany Gunter, the CEO of SMART, and the SMART leadership team, which has graciously come here today to discuss this, as we will not only use this as a forum to inform the board of the work that has been done across the community, but more importantly, to kickstart a conversation of understanding how we can be greater stewards of the public trust and ensure that it's invested in our priorities when it comes to transportation and mobility across Macomb County. As my friend Leon Drolette would say, those are a lot of flowery words, JP, just get down to business. Ultimately, what we are doing is we are using the creativity of SMART to develop a system in which Macomb County's community-driven transit priorities come first with regards to the investment of our millage dollars. We are still going to get all of the institutional support that we get from SMART today, whether it's the fixed route service that connects us to the entire region and serves tens of thousands of individual riders every single day, whether it's the paratransit services that supports those transit-dependent population that need our services every single day, and the emergent micromobility and flex services that continue to open up new transit opportunities for individuals. But what this new approach through the stewardship and jurisdiction of the Macomb County Board of Commissioners does is it will provide this board with the ability to activate a master service agreement underneath the millage. The millage language, which has been provided for you, provides the structural and statutory responsibilities that this board has to essentially request that the residents of Macomb County consider a transportation millage, as we have done for the better part of a generation now. But ultimately, what the board would be able to do now is codify a series of priorities in which a portion of that millage would be set aside so we can invest in our friends that are in the room today and the area that is emerging in transit, which is our community providers. And that's what I think has been the most critical and imperative part of these conversations that we have had up to this point in time, is we have heard from the locals. We have heard how they're working with SMART more creatively every single day, with Tiffany, with Harmony, with Jordan, with Danny, on these new flex services that are providing direct dial-a-ride and on-demand services through folks like Jeff White at Richmond and Lennox EMS, through Romeo Washington and Bruce Stahar Transportation, through Kyle and the folks over in Sterling Heights with their expanding senior services. These are growing services which have happened at a community provider level. And ultimately, what this new approach will do is as we've seen expansion of these services, as we've seen more demand in these services, it's given us an ability to build out this through our community providers. SMART is not only agreeable in this, as they are also replicating this model in Oakland County with the millage that they passed a few years ago, but we're kind of using the R&D method, rip off and duplicate, if it seems to be working in a neighboring community where they're expanding and modernizing the way that these community providers are providing more services, but connecting people into the larger system. It's given us more options of how we want to see our system grow. As a representative of the SMART Board of Directors, along with Sheila Cote, who's also the rep, we've learned not only from our friends in Oakland and Wayne County how they're approaching this. Wayne County is also going through a similar process right now with their new opt-in provisions on that end. But ultimately, what you see in front of you today, and ultimately what we will be working out with and tweaking with the master service agreement that is in draft form right now, is a series of documents that would be under the consideration of the board, as this is under the unilateral jurisdiction of the Board of Commissioners, but ultimately would allow us to prescribe to SMART and illustrate to the residents of Macomb County how we're going to continue to grow the most responsive transit and transportation system here in Macomb County. I have had the great opportunity to serve on the SMART Board of Directors for the better part of 10 years. This is just my take as an individual that has seen the ebbs and flows of an organization for quite some time. This organization is as responsive as it has ever been. The approach that Tiffany, the rest of the leadership team have forged to find solutions for our local communities, I feel has been as impactful as it has been. But at the same time, with this new approach, we're looking to take that next great leap, and we're looking to use the legislative body here of the County of Macomb to ensure that that feedback is perpetual and those assurances are ironclad to the expectation of our legislative body and the residents. I know I've rambled on for a really long time, Mr. Chair. I know we're also going to provide an opportunity for the public to speak to this, and I believe we're going to provide an opportunity for the rest of the individuals to step up. But Mr. Chair, if you wouldn't mind, if Tiffany could please have an opportunity to come up.
One
Oops,
quick question, just for the new members that weren't here when we approved the millage language last time. Explain the role of the board.
The Macomb County Board of Commissioners authorizes the millage question.
Thank you.
So ultimately, it is under the purview of this board to vote the millage to be given to the public to decide.
Thank you. And
Thank
I would ask the board members to reserve questions until after we've heard from the public. So Tiffany,
I'm sorry, I rambled too much.
I know
Please.
you're not going to speak as fast as JP does, so go ahead.
I don't think I can anymore speak as fast as JP. Good afternoon to the Board of Commissioners, Chairman Sabatini, Vice Chair Haw as well. It is my honor and my pleasure to come here today. And the way in which I got here was on the 561. I rode the bus from downtown today here, and I chuckled a bit because I was having such a good time talking with other passengers that I missed my stop. I went one too far, and then Bernard saw me wandering around and picked me up and brought me back. So I will say I got here in a matter of about 35 minutes from downtown using our fast Gratiot line, and the bus was pretty packed, and it was a lot of students on there. So we're seeing people come back to our system, and that's what I was asking JP if I could talk about with you today. When I was appointed just about 1 year ago. It makes 1 year in July to this role. I remember having some of the first conversations with Chairman Sabatini and the communities in this county about what we needed to do. And the key theme of all those conversations was listen to us and partner with us and understand our needs. And that was easy for me. We didn't have to have a lot of conversations. The question was, what do you need? And what JP is outlined and illustrated here is exactly that, is we need to make sure our community partners are satisfied with what it is SMART's doing, knowing that the fixed route service is a foundation. The community partnerships are also a substantial piece of the puzzle here. SMART is layered. It is not just a 40-foot bus. It is layers of service. JP talked about the fixed route, the paratransit, the community transit, as well as the microtransit. And I am so happy that we're very close to, and I know Jeff White is here today, working through a partnership where we can start bringing the microtransit option to our community providers so that it's not just an outside contractor, but a trusted provider in the community providing those services as well. So partnership has been sort of the theme of it all over the last year. And so we started an on-time performance challenge. And I know that's something that is very critical for us to be on time. What we say we do, we should do it SMART. If we have a schedule, we should meet it. When I took over, we were around 63% on time. That is abysmal. And I know that that is abysmal. So we start with my idea for my philosophy on leadership is you shine the spotlight on the place that needs the most attention so that you can be surgical in your approach to improving it. We've seen some ebbs and flows as we work to sustain improved on-time performance. We started a challenge with our operators. We actually celebrated them today. The ones that have 85% or better receive pins and t-shirts to say thank you for what they're doing. My best operator in Macomb is at 97%, but I gave out at least 25 certificates today to operators in Macomb that were above that 85% industry standard. That is the goal. Today we sit as a baseline, and I'm honest about this, at 72%. We saw some places where we achieved 85%, but we're still climbing. And the thing that we're doing now is we're shining the spotlight on maintenance. You cannot have on-time service if you do not have vehicles available for service. So we're improving the maintenance department. My board chair knows that when we took on this effort, there were a lot of things that needed to be repaired at SMART, as well as our facilities. We're doing the work. We're chewing the bubble gum. We're walking. We have an A&E contractor, an architectural and engineering firm that's working on improving the facilities so that we can improve our vehicles, so that we can have those vehicles available for service when our operators are ready to operate them. So all of those things are happening at once as SMART is improving its service. We've also increased our frequency on Gratiot to 20-minute service versus the 30-minute service, which means people have less reliance on the schedule. If they don't see the one, they know that within 20 minutes, another vehicle is coming. We're up 30% in Q1 over last year right now on ridership. 30% more folks have come back to the system. We've been putting dignity back into transit use and being on time. Having ADA compliant stops. We've been pouring concrete, and I give so much credit to Vice Chair Hall here because he stayed right here on top of my head on Roseville until we were able to solve for a lot of the issues that we were having with our shelters over time. And so that's become a system-wide initiative. We call it the Smart Spaces program. And truly, when people see good lighting, real concrete pads for people with disabilities, and shelters that are well maintained, they are willing to give the system a try. And that's what's happening right now at SMART. We've put Wi-Fi on our fast routes. People are loving the Wi-Fi. We're seeing usage there. We've made student rides for free. And I want to make sure that I make clear what that means, because sometimes people hear that and they believe that we are giving up funding as a result. The way that our system works is that the federal government apportions money to transit providers by ridership. The state also, through local bus operating, apportions money through ridership. When we're seeing these increases in ridership, what we make up for on the ridership side and those apportionments far outweighs what we would receive at the fare box. So those students get an opportunity at life, getting a chance to get their education, spend money, move the economy, and at the same time, we're seeing more come to Southeast Michigan as a result because of what we're doing here. It's something that's not new to the industry, but it's new to Southeast Michigan. And as I rode up here today, I rode with 3 students from River Rouge High School that were so thankful and grateful because they did not use the bus service before that, and they were so glad that they could come home before 5:30 or 6 o'clock when their parents got off work. They were able to get some independence for themselves. I'm certain there's more things that I could say, but I think, unless you tell me more, that's what's happening at SMART right right now. There's a new lifeblood here. There's a lot of energy. Our staff is excited. I am excited. Our team is excited about moving this forward. And we just thank you for hearing us out today and having this conversation.
Thank you,
Thank
Tiffany.
you.
And I didn't stand on your head.
Not completely, just a little.
The next item is public hearing relative to Resolution 2026-15571, a resolution approving language for Macomb County Public Transportation Millage to appear on the November 3rd ballot. So I'll open it up to the public. I'd like to request that, especially Leon, keep your remarks to 3 minutes. So you're first, Leon.
I can speak at the end 3 minutes. Thank you, Commissioner Hall, and commissioners in general. Appreciate being here to speak on this today. As many of you may know, I have been a longtime critic of the smart millage. And it was reinforced to me, as a treasurer of Macomb Township, when I received a call from a woman who lived at 24 in Romeo Plank, whose husband had to go twice a week for dialysis, and they had no way of getting him there. Unfortunately, the smart service, the individual car service, what's it called again? Flex service, doesn't go up that far. And so they had no way of getting her husband to dialysis down near Hall Road. They relied on neighbors to give them rides until that luck ran out, and then the husband took it upon himself to drive himself down and back, which worked until it didn't, and he passed out on the way home. Fortunately, he was not seriously injured, but he got a bad accident. But when I talked to our shuttle service provider and asked, couldn't we provide that service? The problem is there's a wait list for shuttle service for people who are disabled or need medical appointments in Macomb Township. And that wait list is because the Macomb Township taxpayers send $5 million a year to SMART under the SMART millage. They get $156,000 back, about 3%, that goes toward the shuttle service. And it's not enough to serve the residents. So when Bernard from SMART contacted me and let us know they're having a meeting in northern Macomb County with northern Macomb communities to talk about how they can improve SMART service, I went to that meeting and I found that there's a lot of other municipal leaders, local government leaders that had similar concerns, that the specific needs of their communities are not being addressed. And so what followed from that was about 2.5 years, this was November of 2023, about a little over 2 years of meetings with local community leaders, with JP, and with the folks from SMART to talk about how we could make it better. And the result of that is an agreement for this particular ballot proposal to do something different than has ever been done in the past, which is to dedicate 12.5% of the revenues from each community back to the communities that generated that revenue to be used for transit needs that fit their neighborhoods, their communities, and so forth. Because the needs in Warren or the needs in Sterling Heights or the needs in Harrison Township or Roseville are different than they are in Romeo. In that each community would then receive some transit money back, 12.5% that's generated from their community, to be used by their local elected officials toward legitimate transit needs. And that is a way they can, in some cases, I know Commissioner Haw, you had talked about, there was concern in your district about this level of upkeep of the bus stops and so forth. But, so your community might decide they want to improve the bus stops in their community. Another community might want to put it all toward the mainline 40-foot buses, because that might be their most prominent need. Another community might say, we need that shuttle to pick up, the elderly and so forth at their home and drive them directly to that appointment. So under this proposal, a place like Macomb Township could serve their residents all the way up from Hall Road to 26 Mile Road, could get people to those appointments. So even, again, I find myself a little awkward coming here in support of a smart millage. But I'm
A little awkward.
a little awkward. But I can tell you, I'm in support of the changes being proposed by this millage rate.
And, I've been very pleasantly surprised and appreciative of Tiffany and Bernard and the people at SMART for meeting with us and listening to us and taking these concerns very seriously. I've been incredibly appreciative of Commissioner Sabatini, Vice Chair Haw, for meeting with us multiple times, along with some other commissioners, to talk about the issue and help us find solutions. And JP has played a critical role in navigating the process. So what we have is an agreement that would keep the SMART millage at what it's been headly down to, which is about 0.94. So it would be a 0.94 millage, but there would be a master service agreement that would make sure each one of your communities would get a guaranteed percent of that revenue to tailor it toward the residents in those communities, because each community is a little different. So that's all I really have to say, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak here today. Thank you.
Leon, I would just personally like to say I greatly appreciate the effort that you put forth on this. When you first started the conversations, I was kind of surprised that knowing how you felt a couple of years ago where we debated this issue, that you were looking for a fundamental improvement and better usage of tax dollars in Macomb County. So I want to thank you for everything you've done. You never thought you'd hear me say that, did you?
I thought I might.
Okay.
No, thank you, Commissioner. And again, it's a big improvement from just from people listening and compromising. So it's not exactly what I want, but it helps the people in my community, and I think it helps the people in each of your communities.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the public wish to be heard?
Hi, I'm Jeff White. I'm with Richmond Lennox EMS, and we operate the Smart Community Partnership Program for 14 communities in now what is middle and northern Macomb County. I used to say it was all northern Macomb County, but about 2 years ago now we took on Clinton Township's CPP program, so certainly a considerable amount of Macomb County is now under our jurisdiction. I want to simply say that in agreeing with the chair of this committee, I think Commissioner Haw is saying about Leon. It wasn't too many years ago that Leon and I stood on a track down at Macomb Community College when the SMART millage had passed by 38 mills and had a spirited discussion about the future of SMART. Fast forward to the last election, the SMART millage won in every community, in every precinct that my operation serves, and I think in every precinct in the county. And I think part of that had to do with the fact that we provided a service that people needed and appreciated and recognized. Fast forward today, we have the ability to go just the next step with that. Because I really think that I would agree with all who have mentioned it before, that I've been working with SMART since 1999. This is far and away the finest leadership we have ever had. I've been with SMART longer than most of the people with SMART have been with SMART. And I can tell you that we've also, at my organization, never missed a goal that we've set. And right now our goal is this. I'm doing 36,000 rides or so a year. Really, my team is. I don't do much but lead a group of really great people. We turn away 4,000 people a year. We provide those statistics to SMART. We provide them to Mr. Droulet and all the communities that we serve. And we simply say we don't have the funding to serve you. Not that we don't want to serve you, not that we don't have the vehicles, not that we don't have the ability or the infrastructure, we don't have the funding. And so what this opportunity gives our communities is the ability to say, if we're receiving 12.5% of that millage back, as Mr. Droulet mentioned, we will have the funding necessary to pare that down. I don't know if we'll ever be to zero, but it will be a lot closer to zero than we are today, where we're at 11 or 12% that we turn away. And that's what I'm here to try to accomplish, is simply to say we have an unmet need. We're not asking for any more money from the citizens of Macomb County. We're simply asking to receive a little bit more of that money back in our own communities so we can quit turning people away who really are, as Leon pointed out with his resident, in need of this service. Again, I started doing this at Smart in 1999. We had one bus. We got it because we had people calling 911 who needed rides for dialysis. And I was looking for a way to provide that service without just having to tell them no when they called 911. Since 1999, interestingly, we have never had an increase from Smart that met the inflation for that year. For 26 years, we have fallen short of an inflationary increase to provide our service. Yet somehow, we're up to 18 vehicles now and 36,000 rides. And we've had a lot of drivers and a lot of infrastructure and a lot of help. And somebody said, geez, Jeff, you run this whole thing by yourself recently. Somebody said it to a friend of mine, and the friend came and said, Smart paid you a nice compliment. And he said, but why do you do that? I said, because I don't want to turn away any more rides. I'll run it by myself to put another bus on the road. That's the kind of passion that my entire team has for doing this. And so we encourage and hope that the County Board of Commissioners will consider placing this on the ballot so that we can take that next step forward with Smart's leadership. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public wish to be heard? Please.
Good afternoon, Board Chair and members of the board. My name is Cahill. I'm the Parks and Recreation Director for the City of Sterling Heights. Been in my position for almost 17 years now, where I have the pleasure of running the department that's responsible for the paratransit program in Sterling Heights. I'm here today on behalf of the City of Sterling Heights administration just to share our support for the Smart Transportation Program and ultimately what we hope it becomes through this next iteration of a millage proposal. The Senior Center provides rides annually to the tune of about 16,000 people just in Sterling Heights. I know Mr. White before us has a much larger breadth of service across the county, but just in Sterling Heights, almost 16,000 paratransit rides. And that doesn't include the great work we get to do in conjunction with Smart for Sterling Fest, where we're able to really pool some resources to move a lot of people over a 3-day festival weekend. There was talk from JP about how we're working creatively to work together to transport people, and that's exactly where we're at with Smart. Smart transportation is critical in Sterling Heights, quite frankly. The paratransit program is critical. Just like Mr. White said, we are turning people away as well. But when we're not, we're also looking to add more, and we're looking to provide a greater service to as many residents as we can. We all know from the data that the 50 and older, the senior center or the senior population is growing. SEMCOG has been very clear that that's where we're heading, and we know that the needs are really only going to grow from that point on. And so continuing to be able to provide these services are, again, critical. And that doesn't even include the fixed routes that go through some major trunk lines in Sterling Heights, whether it's Van Dyke, whether it's Mound Road. Our businesses, our manufacturing community relies on the fixed route service to also help transport critical workers to their facilities and their places of business so they can do what they need to do to keep Sterling Heights, keep Macomb County, really keep the region moving forward. I will be the first to say that over the years in my time as the Parks and Recreation Director, things haven't always been great with Smart. And I don't know that 15 years ago I'm having this conversation and standing up here to really support outside of the needs we have. But I would say for the first time in my time, the last couple years have really shown the true meaning of collaboration, the true meaning of understanding of what community transit means in each community. And we have sat at the table. We have talked through the goods, we've talked through the bads, and we've talked about how to make those better, to the point where we have partnerships that we never thought we would have before. And I like to give credit to the team that is sitting here, because we are moving forward in a great manner, including talking about sharing software that we've been talking about for probably 10 years now, I feel like, but we're at that point. They are truly moving the needle forward. And so today, I stand here just to place our support in Sterling Heights for putting this millage on the ballot and making sure that we can provide these critical transportation services to the public. If it doesn't make it to the ballot, if it doesn't pass, it's a heavy lift for communities to potentially fund hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of services to the public, because this can't go away. At this point, there's too many people that rely on us, so it is critical for this to go on the ballot. We appreciate the language. We appreciate the opportunity to craft to a 12.5%, kind of bring back to the communities that support it, and we look forward to seeing what this can do for not only Sterling Heights, but Macomb County as a whole. So I appreciate this opportunity to talk today, fully support the opportunity to put this on the ballot and continue to move this county forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to be heard from the public? Seeing none, I open the public hearing at 3:14. I am closing it at 3:31. Now is the opportunity for commissioners. Do you have any questions? Commissioner Perna.
I do support, as a commissioner, the renewal of this amendment to be put on the ballot. This increases our ridership for students, for seniors, and for residents. If you look back at where it was 26 years ago, most of the municipalities weren't involved in this. And I think we have the majority of the municipalities right now that have signed on. And the nut is this is not an increase. This is a renewal with a reduction. And that is what has to be put on the ballot. It's a renewal, but it's also a reduction for what they've already been paying for the last couple of years. So that is important to do that. The smart board is not new, right? Unless there's been some new, but there needs to be more shelters at these bus stops in these local communities. Because I drive by Gratiot, I drive on Hall Road, and there's people standing waiting for buses, but there's no shutters there for them to stand or get out of the weather in the winter or the heat or what have you. Hopefully there's going to be new routes, because we talk about from what, 8 mile to 37 mile? Is that the route of SMART potentially?
Currently, fixed route service goes all the way up to 23 mile, but then there's community service north of 23.
Right. So if you're going as far as Elmont, that's not in the picture right now, correct? That's 37.
Stops in Bruce Township.
Right.
Yep.
So, but hopefully we get the support from the residents. I support it, and I hope some of the other commissioners support it to put it on the ballot. Again, it's a renewal with a reduction. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other commissioners wish to speak? I hit it. Oh, my gosh. Commissioner Romano.
I guess you got a couple of commissioners want to talk about it.
Oh, boy.
Will the real Leon Drollet stand up? I mean,
Oh, boy.
so that you understand, Leon sat where Mr. Prentice said. I sat probably here also, but we were strongly, I say we, Leon, myself, maybe one or two other commissioners, strongly opposed to SMART for whatever reasons we stated, and which he stated previously. For Leon, I won't say switch, but I think the whole picture has been expanded. I guess maybe that's a better way of saying it. Leon and I both felt, I personally took a ride, I think Leon did, I don't know if he did too, but I took that ride and I found empty buses. I found no stops, as Mr. Perna said, there was no coverages. And I think that has improved a lot. I think you liked my speech by my man Kyle Langlois. As of Friday, I had lunch with our city manager, Mr. Vanderpool, and I said, Mark, you're going to get some money back from SMART. Now, what are you going to do with it? And he came back with this. He said, Joe, would you say that Sterling Heights is aging? I said, quite fastly. Myself also. I said, well, seeing that, he said, we need buses. We need more buses. And I really thought about it. It is true. And if you look at the statistics, Sterling Heights' senior population is growing by leaps and bounds. I don't know if that's good or bad. But these are people that also vote. These are people that use public transportation because they won't be able to drive their own cars. Mr. Pern, you still driving? Oh, you still drive yours, Mr. Pern. I'm sorry to put a little levity into this a little bit. But anyway, hearing Leon speaking to Mr. Vanderpool, hearing my Parks and Rec man come up, I'm taking a completely different perspective on this, and I have to be very honest with you, I am. So I just want to say, let's see what happens. If the people approved it once, and as Mr. Prentice said, there's no increase, I think the people will probably approve it again. It's needed, it's out there. Let's satisfy our residents, that's what we're here for. That's all I have. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Kraft.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was lucky enough to sit in on a few of the meetings with our locals and SMART, JP, and members from our board, and I went into it the same way probably Leon Drillette did, because I was one of them that voted no every single time SMART came up here. And after sitting through those meetings and seeing the direction that it was headed, I thought to myself, okay, Twilight Zone, I might be able to get myself behind this. But JP mentioned a key word, and it wasn't just partnership, it was receptive. And in my time here, it was always SMART telling us what we needed. It wasn't the other way around. I did not see that this time. It was upended. It was us telling them. It was them listening. It takes both of those to move this forward. And when I saw that happening, and I saw all the work that went into it, and I saw where we could be, I was the same as Leon. Leon and I had a phone conversation last week, and I think we were both afraid to talk to each other because he was on board, I was on board, and it was one of those conversations that just we didn't think would ever happen. But this is where we're at, and it's because of leadership at SMART, leadership here at the county, and with this board. And when it comes to being on the ballot, I'm all for it. Let the residents decide. And like Jeff White said, I mean, my district uses his services like crazy. 23 Mile Road, there's only a couple miles south of that. The rest of it's my district, not being served by the major bus lines and things like that. It's Jeff's service. And I hear raving reviews about Jeff and his team and the work that they do up there, but it's complimentary of that. And without this, we cannot have that. And the fact that the locals get more of a buy-in, more of a say in what every community needs, that to me is so impactful. That's something we were missing in the past. And so to have that with this language, I'm completely behind it. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Howard.
Thank you, Chair. Ahead of this meeting, I reached out to city leadership in my district as well as residents. And so I'm just going to echo some of, their comments. Centerline said, there's no issues. We love it. That was very straightforward. One word or one sentence back. And just some comments from residents about just mass transit in general, particularly SMART. Everyone uses it, from dental professionals to restaurant workers to CEOs that we know that use it. Last time I rode a SMART bus, there was someone, a dental professional, and a guy said, I have been riding buses for 20 years to get to work. Even if I might not ride it, the people that work at the restaurant that I go to, at my dentist's office, at, my barber uses mass transit. He uses the bus. Investing in transit is investing in our community, like the commissioner said. And this is not a new millage. It will not increase tax burden on residents, which is so important right now to continually echo. It's a renewal with a decrease. And then I looked when Miss Tiffany said she rode the bus and it took her 35 minutes to get here. I GPSed downtown Detroit, and for me to drive, it's 34 minutes. So, I mean, that you can't get better than that. And she didn't have to pay for gas. And so, yes. But the need is still there. And just personally, I remember as a kid, we relied on the bus system to get to doctor's appointments, to get to the grocery store, to get to places that we need. And some of my fondest memories is riding the bus with my mom, getting to talk to her, but also before it would take us 2 hours to get to where we needed to go. And now that's just simply not the case. We can get to anywhere we need to go in about 30 to 40 minutes on a bus.
which is sometimes faster than riding a car. So I just greatly appreciate the leadership that we have at SMART. So great at communication. I think every time I've bumped into you guys in the public, you ask like, hey, are there any issues? Other commissioners already mentioned some of the concerns about the shelters. We love to see more shelters. Personally, I love to see shelters that had solar for obviously potentially heating or things like that throughout the winter and stuff. But like those are some things that we're always, you guys are already on top of. And then the 12.5% back to local communities. I mean, you can't get anything better than that. And it's just the ability to let local communities design and meet the needs. So that's such a huge positive thing there. So I'm in full support of this. I know that it will change the lives of many. Recently, a resident, I'll end on this. A resident was like, I'm getting rid of my car. She's like, car insurance is too much. She couldn't afford a car. She lives in Warren. And she's like, I'm nervous about getting to Wayne State. She had to get to Wayne State and she didn't know how. So she popped up in an online forums like, can somebody help me? And dozens of people jumped in and said, hey, download this app. This is the bus you need to take. This is how you can get to Wayne State. If you're a student, you can ride for free. And the community walked her through how to ride this bus line. And so that's what she's been relying on as her way to get around the community for the last 10 months with no issues. So I just wanted to reflect the residents. And when it comes to the millage, it's the residents' choice. And so I love to put it to the residents to make their decision. They know best. That's all, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Goyke.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I was in Leon's camp for a long time. You can ask Mr. White. When I first got elected 15 years ago to another chamber that the transportationists came through it, we had in our community, I represent the north end of Macomb County, so Star out of Romeo, they were using a vehicle to move the people, and Smart was just, with the big vans, and that's what my discussions were with him. It's like, geez, I actually did number pushing. I told him I can hire Ubers cheaper than what these taxpayers are paying at that time. And he can vouch for our discussions at that. But I'm voting yes for this right now. And the reason is because of what everybody else has already said. This department, and it's with SMART, has been smart enough now to start realizing.
A little play on words there.
And that's me. You got to be the chameleon to adapt to all the different areas. And my a pointed question is, if we could, for cost effectiveness, just for wheelchairs, with private people right now where we can't get the service, I'm helping some elderly people out, and I can hire a minivan that's adapted just for the wheelchair to make these patients to go there. I think there's cost savings on that. And maybe use our ISD's information, work with them because they handle a lot of buses when it comes to maintenance. Reach out on there. They have 130 buses. They only have 7 mechanics. There's a lot, there's stuff that can be picked up on that. But by utilizing the right size equipment for doing it, and it costs money to buy that equipment, but the effectiveness of it, and looking at the numbers on how long you keep it before you're spending more to keep it on the road. And that's what I want to stress, that to be effective and what it's doing for the community right now. That's why I'm supporting it. It does help a lot of people, and to put it to the voters, and I think it will pass all the way around. And I want to give commendation, to Jeff on the superb job he does at the north end. So thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Wallace.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to say that I love this idea. I love how you all put it together. Shout out to the leadership at SMART. Everyone is pretty much saying the same thing. Like years ago, we wouldn't have, but now we see the purpose, we see the point, and working it this way will work for our communities. And that was a hard push before. And I think most of the commissioners know that I don't do well with broken promises, which we have seen in the past. But I do like how this puts a lot of opportunity into the community's hands. So you don't have to promise me anything because you don't know what my community really needs. But you can say, hey, here is this, and you can fulfill it yourself. So I really do like that. My community in Mount Clemens is big on dial-a-ride. We use that for a lot. We do have an aging community, and a lot of them have never driven before, so they've really depended on family and public transportation. But now we are seeing a younger group using public transportation. I love that. We are a big school of choice school, so a lot of our kids are getting off the bus together for school. So I do like the idea that, it's free for them, because now what is your excuse to getting to school? Because one was, money or, issues with parents and getting on the bus, but now that excuse is gone. And we've been seeing a big change with our students that are school of choice as well, coming through public transportation. So we do appreciate that. And, just like everyone has said, you listening and what you've said, listening to what the community needs, not us, you guys telling us what we need. So I do like that. I think I told everyone, my daughter, she works downtown. Her car is being worked on and she has to take Smart downtown. So she too gets right on there, takes Gratiot all the way down, and it has been saving me some money. And like the first thing I'm asking her, does she have everything? And she's like, I already got the app. It's already telling me what time I need to be at the bus stop. It's telling me when they're going to be here, and it drops her off practically at the front door of her job. And I just really love that for myself, honestly, because I don't have to wake up any earlier to get her to work. Happy she figured that out. But thank you for coming. Thank you, JP. You're here. No one yelled at you. So I think that's an accomplishment. Yeah. Good luck. But thank you, Chair.
Chair Sabatini.
Thank you, Chair. So I've been obviously part of these meetings for quite some time, and I've kept the commissioners up to date on these discussions with the locals. But, the story that Leon was talking about, the Macomb Township resident, that resident also called me. And when I had a conversation with that individual, she simply said that I've always supported SMART over the years, and now I need this service. And unfortunately, the service can't help me, and I don't understand why. So, when leadership did change and Tiffany came on board, we had a conversation, and it was a pretty straightforward, honest conversation. And I looked her in the eyes and I told her, things have to change here, because I can tell you right now, if they don't, going forward, it's going to be a huge issue with SMART in Macomb County. So we talked at length amongst everyone that's been talking today, has been at these meetings, and we worked out a really good deal for Macomb County here. Obviously I represent 90% of Macomb Township, and a number of the services they do in Macomb Township, they use actually gas credits to then contract with Jeff and team to provide a lot of those services locally. So we weren't getting our fair shares, and a number of communities weren't getting their fair share. And the conversation had to happen, and it did happen, a lot of them. But just a couple things, just to reiterate just a few things that we talked about here today. So yes, it is a 12.5% off the top back to the locals. It will be a use it or lose it scenario for the locals. So as long as they use their money for specific transit-related items, then it will meet that obligation. If they don't, that money would be returned back to SMART. The 0.94 mil is the actual mill. It's a little bit less than that right now based on Headley. So technically this is a new millage because of the 0.94, but we kept the characteristics in the language that theoretically it is a renewal. And then we also sunk this up in conjunction with Oakland counties because their term does expire in 31 as well. So those were some key things that we wanted to make sure that we had with this agreement. The other thing was ultimately, the residents will decide if this is approved next month, and I know that's the intention here, is to put it in front of the board next month in July. that will decide and make a decision on this. You all have a draft of the interlocal agreement between us and SMART. That needs to get refined and completed, as well as a master service agreement with the locals that we are finalizing, and you all commissioners will see that. One of the provisions in that master service agreement with the locals will be that will renew annually, so that we have our finger on the pulse here, in the sense that we know what's going on with SMART. For me to get behind this, I have to have trust in SMART. And, there were issues with SMART, not only in my community, but in other communities, in many of your districts. And I heard a lot of those concerns. And one of the key things that I wanted to make sure that we were handling with this agreement with SMART is that we're partners here. And if we're going to work together, then what we write down and what we agreed upon, we have to get it done. And Tiffany gave me those securities in the sense that we can get this done. So I have confidence in her and her team that we will get the job done. But ultimately, this was a team effort. JP worked on this countless hours. We talked with our locals for many times, in the sense that, well, what about if this happens? What about if that happens? So for me to get behind something like this, I had to have a lot of guarantees, in the sense that we need to make sure that our residents are taken care of, and that if we're going to support a millage like this, in the sense of putting it in front of the voters, we need to make sure that we're controlling that dialogue. So that's the big scope of the entire conversation and how we got to today. This didn't happen overnight. My phone was ringing literally when I took chairmanship. We need to talk about the smart millage. So I've been talking about this for almost a year and a half now. So it's been on our radar. We knew we had to have this conversation and make a decision as the current millage was going to be expiring this year. So I'm glad that we were able to work this all out. I'm glad that our locals are here and expressing their support of it, because that makes me more confident in this role, supporting something going forward. So that being said, thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I will conclude the remarks by saying this is democracy at its finest. This is a partnership working together. We had many conversations about Roseville and Gratiot, recognizing that many people say things in government never change. Well, it's the people, the process, and the procedure that makes things change, and this is changing for the better. The conversation, 4 years ago versus what you just heard today, Tiffany, it's a credit to you and JP. I'll even throw Leon in there to get us to this point that this board is advocating support for the millage language, and congratulations to all that worked on this. But it was very painful, time stake. The promises that were made last time weren't kept, quite frankly. So we're looking forward to moving forward with the promises and the commitments. And now we can conclude all the comments in the public hearing. So thank you very much, all of you, for your efforts. With that, I need a motion to receive and file the verbiage that Chairman indicated we all have. I have a motion by Commissioner Howard, supported by Commissioner Wallace. Any questions on the motion? Seeing none, please vote.
Motion passes 11.
Thank you, all you smart people.
Literally.
Next item is resolutions for discussion purposes only. Resolution 2026-15495, a resolution approving ballot language for the Macomb County Veteran Millage to appear on November 23rd, 2026 ballot. Laura, it's all yours.
Hello, Board. How are you?
Hey, how are you doing?
Well, I guess I'm not as smart as them, so. That's okay. Hopefully this discussion won't take as long. I didn't bring 20 people with me either. So our millage is up for renewal. Our first millage was in 2008, and that passed with 68%. Back in 2016, we asked for a slight increase, so our millage went up to 0.069 at the time. I did provide you some statistical data. You know, we have our indirect costs and then also the amounts that we basically dollars received for veterans. So, you know the work I do, you know the work our team does. With this millage, it allows us to service our veterans in our community. When our veterans win their claims, we do not receive any funds from them. We do not charge for this service. It's a free service. We do bring back millions back into the community for those veterans. So with the language, I did get an update yesterday from Equalization, because when I typed this up, this was like probably 2 or 3 months ago. And I used last year's information from my last year's budget. So based on a conversation I had with Equalization yesterday, the estimated collection amount would be $2,877,814. So that's $2,877,814. That's what the new amounts roughly would be based on the information yesterday. Any other questions?
Thank you, Laura. Commissioner Lucido.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I just want to thank you, Laura, for coming out. And obviously the work that you do is very recognizable. That's why there's never an issue passing this millage on the county level. You said it passed 68%, which is probably like the highest county
That was the
millage
lowest.
numbers. Yeah, of
so-
any millage ever at Macomb County is for veteran services, because I think everybody recognizes the importance of this millage. So that's all I have, Chair.
Yeah, the first year was 68%, then the next time was 80.1.
Wow.
Then it was 73.7, that's when we asked for an increase. And then in 2022, it was 80.1. So I guess we got some veterans living in our county.
Commissioner Howard.
Just really quick, I had a veteran call me about something completely unrelated, and he brought up the fact that we are one of the few counties that have a veteran millage, and he was just so thankful about that, and he was talking to me about it. I said, oh, by the way, it's coming up on the agenda this week. He had no clue. He's going to be here tomorrow to talk about a different issue. But I was curious, do you know how many counties out of our 83 in Michigan have a veterans millage?
I do not.
Okay.
I do know Oakland County does not. I know, what's the county up in Lansing?
Washtenaw?
Ingham.
Ingham.
Does not. I was just with them last week at a conference, and we discussed that because mine is up for renewal. There's a bunch of counties that do not. They operate under the general fund, and they have to fight for every single dollar. They don't have a relief fund. They don't have emergent needs. They don't have bus passes. They don't have they don't have clearly all the stuff that we have based because of our millage.
Yeah, when we talk about making Macomb your home, what better environment can we make home than the men and women that serve our country? And so this is just such a great way for us to serve the people that fought for our rights and freedoms. So thank you for everything that you do.
Oh, thank you. You're welcome.
Seeing no other speakers, thank you, Laura. I need a motion to receive and file.
Motion to receive and
Thank you,
file.
everyone.
Motion by everybody. Commissioner Romano and Commissioner Howard. Any discussion? Please vote. Thank you. Next item is proclamations. A proclamation congratulating Utica Community Schools for being recognized as one of the best communities for music education by the National Association of Music Merchants. Commissioner Grott and Commissioner Romano. Next proclamation is recognizing Assistant Prosecutor Attorney Dale K. Vande for receiving the Kimberly M. Cahill Civility Award. Commissioner Wallace. I need a motion to refer both of these to full board.
Support.
Motion by Commissioner Wallace, supported by Commissioner Lucido. Any discussion? Please vote.
Motion passes 11-0.
Thank you. Next is a memo from Human Resource Labor Relations to the Board of Commissioner, Chief Investigator, dated May 19th, 2026. I need a motion to receive and file.
Motion, receive and file.
Support.
Motion by Commissioner Romano, supported by Commissioner Lucido. Any discussion? Please vote.
Motion passes 11-0.
Thank you. Now it's with great pleasure I turn the gavel over to Commissioner Lucido.
Thank you, Commissioner Ha. So I will open up the Health and Human Service Committee meeting. We'll start with department recommendations. We have a budget amendment for a health grant fund, CO 2026, Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, MDHHS Comprehensive Planning, Budgeting and Contracting, LHD grant, amendment number 4 in the amount of $129,738. Can I get a motion to recommend to full board?
So move.
Motion by Haas, supported by Wallace, and we have Andrew here to discuss this.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Great to see you. This item is pretty simple. It's one of our CBBC amendments. It's amendment number 4. This allows us to increase the budget to account for additional grant dollars that are coming on to us from Michigan Department of Health and Human Services to help support our MyHIP, which stands for Maternal Infant Health Program, then also our Public Health Infrastructure Grant. Grant funds are going to be utilized for MyHIP staff to offset staffing costs in the program. No additional staffing will be hired, but just helping to support the staff that are doing the program for MyHIP, and then for public health infrastructure, looking at securing dollars to do infrastructure for capital projects. Those are being currently looked at for the current year to spend out these grant dollars, looking at specifically at the medical examiner's office for badge scanners and video cameras for that building, and then also some additional upgrades depending on how our building needs survey assessment turns out as well, being able to utilize those funds for our health buildings. Be happy to answer any questions.
All right. Seeing no speakers, anyone? Please vote.
Motion passes 11-0.
Easy
Thank you.
today. All right, now we'll move on to item B, a budget amendment for Ballmer Group, Macomb Community Action, expansion and general operating support in the amount of $655,000. Can I get a motion to recommend to full board?
So moved. Support.
Motion by Howard, supported by Perna. And we have Edward here to discuss this.
Good afternoon, everyone. In front of you, you have a budget amendment to reduce Ballmer funding, excuse me, by in the amount of $655,000 for this year. I wanted to just provide some context. Several years ago, just prior to me stepping into this position, the Ballmer Foundation provided a grant of $1 million to Macomb Community Action that was used over the course of 3 years for a number of different enhancements. It was invested back into programs. It was used as a potential cushion for those times of the year when funding runs short. It was sometimes used in a discretionary way in those times when a client may come to us and they fall just outside of our qualification guidelines. It's been funding that was tremendously useful to us. And that particular grant period ended in September of 2025. And so we reapplied for renewal for an additional $1 million. The Ballmer Foundation reached out to us and let us know that they would be granting us $345,000 for a 1-year grant term. And that is a bit discouraging, but I do want to also mention that our contact at the Ballmer Foundation let us know that they're going to be going through a period of strategic planning and restructuring. And before that year is up, we should have the opportunity to reapply for the full additional 2 years of funding. So that's kind of where it puts us. So, very similar. This does not necessarily affect our plans for the funding because it essentially provides us with what we were planning to do for the first year of funding anyway. So again, that would include things like reinvesting into our programs, all of the things I just mentioned. We did, if I remember right, one of you asked when we were presenting our budget at the end of 2025 about capital outlay. We were looking at the purchase of a refrigerated food truck with these dollars as well to increase our capacity for mobile food distribution. So we don't see this reduction in funding affecting us in this year. If for some reason we are not able to get that additional renewal, obviously we would come back to share that with this board. So I'm open to any questions.
Commissioner Hall.
Thank you, Chair. Edward, in our comments, it said motion to approve 2026 budget amendment from Macomb Community Action in the amount of $655 by decreasing charges for service with a corresponding decrease to fund balance $500,000, personnel $50,000, service and supplies $142, repairs and maintenance $25, increase to conferences and training $32, and capital outlay $30,000. If you put this together, that is the most creative explanation I've seen since I've sit here. I want to applaud you on that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
I will say I can't take all the credit. I had excellent assistance from our finance department.
Well, somebody's
craft
very
this.
good. Thank you, Chair.
All right. Seeing no other questions, can we please vote?
They're not allowed to decrease. I would just
Missing a
like to
couple votes.
mention-
Commissioner Goike,
Yay.
Commissioner Romano.
Yes.
Motion passes 11-0.
With this.
Good job.
All right,
Thank you all very much.
All right, at this time, I will open up public participation. This is an opportunity for the public participation for anyone to wish for a maximum of 3 minutes on any issue. Is there anyone here who would like to speak in the public? Seeing none, I will close public participation and move on to commissioner comments. Do any commissioners have any comments? Seeing none, we'll close commissioner comments. And now we will move into closed session. Can I get a motion to enter into disclosed session to discuss pending litigation? Motion by Howard, support by Grock. Can we please vote?
Motion passes 11-0.
Support.
I have motion and support by Wallace and Howard.
Motion passes 11-0.